Welcome back, guys, to another exciting episode of Peacock Society 42 show. I'm your host, Mayuri, and today we're sitting down with someone whose story is not just about survival, but transformation. She is a wife, a mother, a community leader, an internationally public makeup artist, a businesswoman, and an entrepreneur. But beyond her titles, she's someone who's overcome trauma, addiction, abuse, and unimaginable hardship, and she's still found ways to rebuild her life with faith, strength, and purpose. So today we're sitting down to talk about her childhood, her darkest moments, her turning point, and how she rebuilt her life and how she turned her pain into power. Please welcome her to the show, Ratha.
Thank you for having me.
First, I want to say thank you so much for being here. I know that your story is very personal, and I know that sometimes it's really hard to come out publicly and letting people know the darkest moments of your life. So thank you so much for trusting me and the audience with your story. Let's start from the very beginning. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you were born. Just like everybody else, the Khmer people, we all came as refugees. So talk to us about that. Tell us who you are.
So my name is Ratha Sat. I am a child of a refugee parents that came out here in 1981. My sister at the time, I have an older sister that was born in 1979, and she was like about 3 years old at the time. And my parents came out here, here in Dallas. My dad was actually serving in the military, and so he was one that got selected firsthand to come out here first. Because he was a part of the military. And then so they stayed here for a little bit, and I was born in Dallas, Texas. And after I was a year old, my parents split. My mom migrated and took us to Oakland, California. And then we stayed out there for 6 months. And then we moved to Stockton, California in 1987. And my mom still resides there till this very day. I am currently a international published makeup artist. Beauty has always been my passion, and I am the community leader, the vice president of Cambodian Association of South Carolina, and I am a wife, a mom, and also a business manager.
When your family came to the United States, was Dallas the first location?
Yes. Yeah, it was the first stop.
First stop here.
Yes, ma'am.
And then after when your parents split, after you became a year old, do you have any memories of Dallas before moving to California?
I do. I have this one picture that I still carry around. It's was at the apartment where my parents first stayed, where I was actually born. It was in downtown Dallas, and I remember it vaguely, but not so much because I was only 1 year old.
Right, like most of us. I don't think I have memories when I was a year old. Can we talk about your mom making a decision to go back to California? Now, does she have other relatives in California for her to make that decision to move there?
She had a godbrother that lived out in Oakland. Things just didn't work out between my dad and her. I guess you could say, I'm pretty sure everybody knows because my mom tells the story. My dad does too. My dad wasn't too grateful to her. She had to deal with abuse, mental abuse, and all that stuff. And, she couldn't handle it no more. So she just took us and she left. And she started brand new. And after 6 months of staying in Oakland, she moved to Stockton because she found an apartment that she was able to afford. And that's when my childhood memory started. And she was a single mom. She never worked. Sorry, it gets really emotional because just the trauma and the survival that I had to go through at a very young age.
How did your mom have the courage to leave your dad at that time? I mean, just being a single mom, the only relative is her godbrother. Mm-hmm. How did she have the courage to just leave?
Because she told me that she didn't want me and my sister to repeat the same pattern by staying. So that's why she had to leave.
you are the second oldest of 5 children. That's a total
Yes.
from your mom. Is that from your mom's side or just total in general from your dad?
From my mom.
From your mom.
Yeah, because after my mom resided in Stockton, she met, a couple men, and my mom had 3 younger siblings, and so it wasn't clips and clovers because she was a single mom, and she had to do what she had to do to survive, to take care of us.
Now, did you felt the responsibility? How old were you when you felt like you were responsible? You had to take the initiative to help your mom?
Probably about 9 years old.
So at age 9 years old, that's when you said, okay, Mom, I am responsible enough. I have to help you. Or was that like most of us, we had no choice but to step in and be a parent to our siblings?
I think it was both because she was hardly home, and there are times where we had to stay home and help watch the younger siblings, and they just pretty much told us, we're gonna go do this and we gotta go make money and work or whatever she had to do to put food on our table. And she's like, don't open the door for anybody. This is what you guys can eat. So there were times where on weekends when I didn't have school, she would take us where we went to the farm and cut onions. And we used to cut onions, and the 15-pound bag, we were there like 3:00 in the morning. They would pick us up, and we were there till sunset. And we would help her cut onions and put it in bags. And they only paid us like 25 cents a bag, and it was 50-pound bags.
It was pretty much, you guys were trying to survive at this time frame. What did that look like to you during that time? Just trying to survive, helping your mom at such a young, tender age.
I was confused because sometimes people in my neighborhood, some families, their parents gave them what they needed. And sometimes I was like, why do I have to go through this? Why was I born? To go through what I had to go through. It was hard, but everything that I went through shapes me to who I am now, so I don't regret it.
Now, growing up with trauma, chaos, and instability, what was your mindset back then just to get through the day at a very young age?
Just pretty much what's going to happen the next day. What would my responsibility be? Will I have to be home to help watch the kids? Or sometimes I could barely even focus on school.
Can we talk about your abuse in your home and the confidence that you have and how you viewed yourself during that time?
There has been times where, I would question because, I was influenced by other kids, other family that didn't have to go through what I had to go through. And some of them was like, why do you have to do what you do? It's your parents' responsibility to take care of you. But I had to learn that not everybody's family is the same as ours. So I would talk back sometimes, and she used to beat me.
And you're questioning your mom.
Yes. And then that's when I was like, is this how love is supposed to be? You get beat because you're asking, why do I have to do these things? Why can't I be a kid? Why am I stuck with these responsibility?
Now, you mentioned that there are some nights where you and your siblings, you guys slept in the garage. Can you tell me what was going through your mind and what happened? What was the reason why you guys slept in the garage?
So I had a stepdad that didn't approve of me, and my mom would choose him over us. And there were nights where he would punish us and have us stay in the garage because we didn't want to listen, or we just pretty much wanted to be kids, and she allowed him to do that.
Do you think that she allowed him to do that because he was the person that paid for everything and she had no choice but to submit?
Yeah.
your siblings, are they his kids, his biological children?
Well, like my youngest brother is, but my two other siblings, they were from my mom's past relationship after after she split up with my dad when she first migrated to Stockton.
His son, was he in the garage? Or
No.
was it just you guys?
It was just me and my two younger siblings, the two right after me. And their dad's not a part of their life.
How did you guys manage to get through the night?
Just hugging each other, keeping each other warm. And then my younger sibling would be like, I'm so cold.
At what point did you realize you were carrying out a lot of pain that most people couldn't see?
It was probably about when I was a teenager. You know, everybody was like, you know, in middle school when you have your first dance, I couldn't afford to have any outfits to even go, you know, and it was tough because I had to worry about who was going to be home to take care of my siblings, to worry about going to a dance and have fun with everybody else.
Do you have resentment towards your mom right now? Do you have anger that all of this happened?
I don't. I did for a very long time, but after a while, after I had kids, I couldn't carry it with me anymore. So I learned to gradually forgive her because after I had kids, I had to learn that, you know, what she did the best that she could do, because like I felt like when our parents came to the United States, I felt like the system failed them. The system didn't teach them the basics of coming to the United States, then becoming a citizen, finding a job, you know. So I felt like I had to learn to forgive her because she didn't. It was hard for her because she didn't know how to speak English. She pretty much had to learn how to survive. And there was time where I've heard her go through PTSD from the war. She would cry when we lived in Stockton. When there were gunshots, you could tell that she just like a rat, like trying to hide because of, you know, the guns. But then after a while, we just got used to it because it was pretty much normal in our neighborhood.
Besides sleeping in the garage, what else happened during that time with your stepfather?
There were times where he would beat us, and like there were times where he had infidelity on my mom, and my mom still stayed. There was a time where he went to Cambodia and came back and asked my mom to be his sister and to move the girl in.
And your mom was okay with that?
Yeah.
What was the reason why? I mean, why was she okay with that?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I think it was just she didn't want to lose the security because he was the provider. And he kept the lights on. You know, he kept food on the table. She said that, you know, he did all that for us, so we should be grateful. But we had to turn away and like pretty much dismiss the abuse that he did to us. And so it became normal. And with that, moving into my teenage and my early 20s, when I started dating, I thought that was normal. And then like turning back around when she told us that she left my dad because of abuse, because of the fact that she had girls and she didn't want us to go through the same experience. But it was pretty much, he wasn't abusing her. He wasn't. But emotionally cheating on her is the same abuse. And she allowed him to abuse us. So what was the difference?
Do you felt like she was being hypocritical at this time?
At some point I did. And I resented her for it for a long time. Because the time I needed her most, she wasn't there for me.
Have you ever confronted your mother?
I did after, recently, after Harmony was born. So after 30-something, no, after 40-something years.
And what was the outcome?
She pretty much kind of dismissed it. And she wanted to make up by being a part of my daughter's life, which is Harmony's life. So, yeah.
And as of today, do you have a relationship with your mom?
I do. And when I want to, when I'm able to emotionally deal with it, because it just comes with so much baggage, and it's the heaviness that comes just talking to her. There's nothing good that comes out of it. It's always like, oh, why don't you have a relationship with your siblings? Why don't you need to help your siblings? I'm expected to help my siblings, but they have never been there for me, and I wasn't raised with them, because afterwards I was put in the foster system because of the abuse, and I was separated from my siblings for a very long time.
What about your older sister, your oldest?
My older sister had got engaged at a very young age. You know how back in the days we do prearranged marriages, and she was one of them. Like, she got engaged and had a prearranged at 14 years old, and she had a child, and she left and moved to Long Beach. So that's how the responsibility and everything fell on me.
After you went into the system, what about your other two younger siblings?
They stayed. My mom fought for them. It was just me. She reported me and said that I was a problem. Or her husband said that I was a problem child. So they put me in the foster system.
And how was your mom feeling about that situation?
To be honest with you, I remember, and this is why growing up, how I'm the way that I am with her, because we have a relationship, but we don't. But the day that she signed me off, I remember it like it was just yesterday. Like, there was no emotions. It was like a relief, that because I would just tell her about how my stepdad treats us, and she's like, you just be glad that he provides. He pays for the light. We have lights. We have food to eat. And I was like, no.
Now, with all the responsibilities on you, taking care of your siblings, how were you as a student?
I was pretty good. I was doing good. I was always the teacher's pet. And I think that's when, at my lowest, when I was broken, one of my teachers noticed. And it was in third grade. Her name is Mrs. Roll. And I still remember she saved me. Because she was the one day she was like, I'm going to take her up to the cabin because I don't know what's going on. Then she was like that role model for me, and that took me from the dark place.
Was she somebody that you felt comfortable enough to go talk to?
I still didn't tell her what was going on at home. She just knew.
How did she know?
Because I was always a bubbly kid. No matter what was going on at home, I always went to school with a positive attitude, always wanting to help people, always wanted to help my teachers. I always made an excuse to stay after school. I would volunteer to do after school help because I didn't want to go home.
So she found out because you weren't yourself.
She found out because she seen whiplashes on me.
And did she ask you?
She asked me, but I didn't tell her. They came and investigated.
So she pretty much reported.
I don't think it was her. I think it was more so of my friends, because my friends told me that they did, that they told the teacher and they told the principal.
And that's when things started escalating, and then your stepfather reported you, and then you pretty much went into the system. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you left, how did you feel?
I felt relieved, but then I was attached to my siblings because there were times where he used to try to beat them and I would take the hit. I would rather have him hit me than for me to sit there and watch them hit my siblings. Until this very day, one of my younger siblings, she would say to me, she goes, "You're everything to me." And when I left, she still gives me a hard time. She goes, "You left me."
Are they angry at you, your siblings?
My younger one don't talk to me at all because that's his dad. And then my second one, she's not angry with me. She just needs me, but I feel like you gotta let me breathe, you know? You gotta learn how to be on your own. Because
31, 32. But there are times where she gets in her feelings and she's like, I need my sister. And I tell her I can't just drop everything that I do and be there for you like how I did. Because I have kids that need me.
Where did you go? Was it foster care?
Yeah.
How was that?
It has its pros and cons. Like, my foster parents was good to me. But there are times where I was confused. And that's when I got into drugs. And then I find myself joining a gang. Mm-hmm. And we were asleep at the park in the bleachers, and because I didn't want to go back because at that time I was so high. And if I went back, my foster parents would have gotten in trouble. And my mindset was like, oh shit, if I go back, they probably might beat me like my parents, so I pretty much just stayed in the streets for a while until my foster mom was like, we're moving. And I stayed in Dallas for a little bit. I moved to Dallas, and that's when I started to try to rekindle things with my dad. Like, I was looking for my dad. And he wasn't, at that time, he was married, and he had his own family, and I didn't want to intrude, so.
When your stepfather reported you and you left to go to your foster parents, what age was that?
I was about 13, 14 years old.
13, 14 years old. And this is when you struggled with addiction? You started to struggle with the drugs and alcohol?
It was more of drugs. It was more like elephant tranquilizer, weed, ecstasy. I used to go to raves. I used to have people that will allow me to use their fake IDs, and we'll go to raves. I joined a girl gang, and, we used to fight other girls, and that was my way of, like, projecting my pain, was inflicting pain on somebody else.
These foster parents, are they Caucasian?
So my foster mom was Filipino.
Mm-hmm. And you still found ways and gravitated towards friends that are the area where you grew up, or did you make new friends in the new area where you got sent to the foster parents?
I still hung out with the same people until when she was like, I'm going to go ahead and go to your parents and go to your mom and have her sign her rights to fully have me move you to Texas. And that's how I ended up in Texas for a few years. And I was staying in Carrollton. At that time, I went to Dan F. Long Middle School. And I got in fights. I never wanted to go to school. Because I was angry for so long, and I felt like no one could love me. My parents didn't love me. My mom didn't love me enough to fight for me.
Why did you join a girl gang?
Just to be a part of a family, to have somebody to have my back, because I always had somebody else's back, which was like my siblings, and I was already getting beat. So why not project my anger towards fighting other girls?
Did you feel a validation after joining a girl gang that you were finally accepted to a family, like an organization that had a lot of other girls?
Yes and no, because I feel like at one point I feel like I was the one that's just putting in all the work because I just wanted to fit in and I just need validation, And it was just, I don't know. It was just a blur because I was mostly high and on drugs at that time.
These girls that were affiliated with your gang organization, were they the ones that introduced you to the substance?
No, I was curious about it a long time ago, and it was more of like the guys that I hung out with, that I went to school with, they provided it, and I introduced it to the girls.
At what age did you first try your first substance?
14 years old.
And how was that experience?
It was, at that point, because I was at a rave. I was on top of the world. I didn't feel nothing. I felt like I was on clouds and I had no worries. I didn't have to worry about my mom yelling at me, my stepdad beating me having to watch my siblings, and I kept chasing that high.
Did you feel a sense of escape from the misery that you were in? Like you were in another dimension, having a good time. You're not angry. You're not sad. You're not depressed.
Yeah. That was my escape. And that's why I chased that high for a long time.
And how long was this? Like how long did it prolonged, the addiction?
Until I was maybe 19, 20 years old.
So it was about, 6 years, 7 years? And it's just the party drugs. Did you try anything else?
Oh, tranquilizer, ecstasy. I did coke. I did acid, shrooms.
Now, when you said you introduced it to other girls, were they younger girls that...
No, they were my age or they're older. I always liked it to hang out with the older people because, I knew that they would take care of me.
Let's talk about this girl gang. What all did you guys do?
We pretty much just, ran the streets. We hung out with, other gang members as well.
And we would do joyrides. We're talking about the guy gangs, right? Mm-hmm. The men. Okay.
Mm-hmm. We would go to parties. I guess you could say it's more. You could say it was more of a clique. Not really, because we used to steal cars. And we used to click up with the other guys, and they would be like, "You're a female, it's less suspicious for you to drive a car." So there are times where we used to joyride, and I used to drive a car.
If you want to get initiated into the girl gang, what is the difference between gang members that are all men, like a men gang, mm-hmm. versus the girl gang, the female gangs? Well, what's the difference?
Well, with ours, to be honest with you, we either had to steal a car or we get jumped in. That was the main two, because we were just a small group. It wasn't like we were affiliated with a bigger organization.
So you felt like it was more like a sorority club, like a girl club where you guys all came from the same background and just needed somebody to, hang out with. Did you ever felt like you wanted to get out of this girl gang?
At one point, yeah, because it was just pointless, and some of the girls got sent away, and our girl group just died out, So, because we were so bad, there were times where we don't even go home, and our parents, their parents used to report them as runaways too. So, when we used to run from the cops, we were hiding under bleachers, and we all would meet up at the park, and we'll all crash and sleep under the bleachers with each other, and that was our place. And that's crazy or not, that was our safe place.
Did you ever felt scared? I mean, being a woman.
No, there were times where we walked all the way from north side to east side in the middle of the night,
and you felt safe because you had other girls. Mm-hmm. You're surrounded by girls who are down to protect each other.
Yep.
I want to talk about, I know you mentioned earlier in our conversation, you said you and the guy gangs, you guys collaborated. What did you guys do? Just party? You guys go steal cars together? You guys go do drive-bys together?
The reason why we collaborated with them is because one of my members, one of our homegirls, were dating one of the guy members. So she would, her boyfriend would ask us hey, some of your girls want to do some dirt. And we're like, okay, why not?
During that time frame, did you feel like a superstar? Like you felt really cool because you had a whole bunch of people backing you up when you're beating up a girl for whatever reason? Did you ever felt that power, that authority?
Not really. I still feel like I was still known
because of the fact that it wasn't more so of like feeling like I have that power. It's I was able to project, and I was always down because of how I was beat when I was younger. I was able to conflict pain on somebody else, and that was my way of projecting, what I've been through, the trauma that I've been through. So I like to beat people.
With the addiction that you've had for over 6 years, why did you stop?
Because one day I found myself almost losing my life. I wanted to die. I did. At one point I did. I wanted to die, but I overdosed instead. And that feeling of having to be in the ER, having them to pump you because you overdosed, because you didn't fully die, it wasn't a feeling that I liked it, because being high was to numb, not to feel every single pain in your body.
When you were numb, during the time when you were high, numb, did you ever gotten taken advantage of?
More so a few times, but it never really went all the way. Like I felt like when I was high and we were all at a rave, everybody was just, being high off of ecstasy, everybody was just touching everybody. But at one point where I felt like it was going overboard, I would even fight a dude.
How do you know that? How do you control yourself when you're so high and this substance is taking over your body and you're blacked out? How do you know that you're trying to beat up a guy now? How do you know that?
How do I know? Because like I've even though I've done drugs and just to feel the numbness, I still stay alert, because I've done, like, I like to do drugs, but I still want to be in control. Does that make sense?
Well,
Like, I don't like to be so far gone where I won't know anything at all.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but for me, honestly, I feel like it doesn't make sense to me, because when you're blacked out, when I'm blacked out, I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I understand maybe some people like you're able to take control. For me, when I'm drunk, when I'm gone, I get white girl wasted. I'm just done. I can't remember what happened to me.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to other girls that choose this path?
That is a dangerous life that you're playing. You're gambling with your life, and it's not worth it. There's outlets, there's people like me now that shares our story so that we are able to share and let you guys know that it's not worth it. We've been through it, and that, going that route is not worth it.
Looking back now, what do you wish people understood about girls like you that came from that same or similar backgrounds, who end up in those type of situation or environment?
Like, to be more empathetic and have sympathy, because sometimes our life, we have no control over it. Sometimes there are kids that are born into a family that don't know how to love their kids, kind of like I did. My mom supposedly says she loves us, but we all know that that's not the type of love that every kid deserves, and I've always told myself that if I grew up, I'm not going to be the way that how my mom treated me. I was going to make sure my kids knew that I loved them, because I've always questioned if my mom loved me or not.
And today, have you received any validation from your mom?
I did, after Harmony was born, after 40-something years later.
And did you find what you were seeking?
Yes and no, because I knew how she is, and I'm only going to hurt myself if I have a certain expectation from her, because if I have a certain expectation from her, I'm always going to set myself up for disappointment, because it's not going to be what I want.
Now, when you came here to Dallas, how was your life then?
It was good. My foster mom and my foster dad worked a lot. There are times where I snuck out.
and went to car shows. And that was when my career of being a makeup artist, I started off doing makeup for import models, for import nights, for Nopi. And we would sneak out when there would be, car race meetings. So that was when my life changed a little bit, but I still had the rebellious side.
And what happens? You sneak out, you go do whatever you're doing. How do you sneak back in without them knowing?
Because my foster sister, my god sister would sneak us, like, we will fluff up our bed, and then we would lock our door, and we knew what time they would get home from work, so we made sure we came home. Yeah, and as long as we made it to school in the morning. But there are times where we went to school, and then when they left to work, we would come home and sleep because we were out all night.
Now, I know that you have daughter.
Two
daughters. How do you feel right now? Just now that you're a mom of 2 girls, how do you feel? Do you ever look back and say, I don't ever want my 2 girls to go through what I've been through?
Absolutely. My first daughter was born in Stockton. And that was one of the main reasons why I left, because my past relationship, I was in a very abusive relationship. I had a gun pointed to my head. He used to beat me, and one day, just the same thing what my mom said. She was like, I didn't want my daughter to go the same thing, and I didn't want her to be raised in the streets, because we'll just be another statistics in the system if I stayed. So I gave up what I knew, and I moved to South Carolina.
What age were you when you had your first daughter?
She was born in 2007. So
she's just turned 18 this year?
It's 19.
Gotta be 19 this year.
Yeah, she just turned 19.
So you were like, what, in your 20s when you had her?
Mm-hmm.
And then you moved here to Dallas or South Carolina?
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
So after growing up here in Dallas, I went back to California because my mom had split up with my stepdad.
That's a stepdad that had all the...
So I went out back there to go take care of her because she had a stroke. And because of the fact that what she went through with him and caused her to have a stroke. And my sister was already, having a child on the way, and she was already with somebody else. So I was the one that they relied on to give up whatever that was going on in my life to go back. So I went back out there to Stockton, California to be there for my mom, take care of her after she got better. Came to find out they got back together and she kicked me out of the house again. And that's how I ended up being with my baby daddy, because I had no place to go, and it was like we were just dating, and I just stayed because I had nowhere to go. And then we had a child. That relationship didn't last. I was probably with him not even 2 years. And then I had a baby, and that's when I was like, at first I thought, and now I'm just going to be real. At first I thought, I was like, how am I going to be able to take care of this kid? I don't even got shit going on for myself. And I stayed in the relationship for a very long time because he was like older than me, and it got dangerous when the gun was pointed to my head and I had to leave because I was like, this is not what I want for my kids. So at that time, my sister lived in South Carolina, and I left, and I just never turned back.
Why do you think that the pattern keeps repeating from your mom, then you? Why do you think that keeps repeating?
I feel like it's the security. I felt like that was pretty much the love, the abuse. It felt like, I guess, the manipulation. And when you've never had anything good in your life and they were able to manipulate the situation and was like, I did this for you and I'm doing this for you, and then when they beat you, and I was already used to the beating
Because
as a kid.
Right, you've had that at a very young age, and that's something that it's just the norm. You thought it was it's normal life. You think it's okay.
Yeah.
Now that you're in a relationship, you thought it was okay because you've seen your mom went through that.
Yeah. The reality check for me was when I decided to leave that relationship was because of that gun that was pulled to my head, but more so of when after I got beat, had a black eye, black and blue, like my eyes was like bloodshot. My face was swollen where you couldn't even see my nose. And so when I went to work, they told me that you don't need to be at work looking like this. You need to go home. And I lied. I lied to my manager and said that I got mugged.
How did you manage to lie to him? I mean, were there times where you kept going to work with all these bruises?
I was a makeup artist. I could cover stuff.
When did you realize that, you know what, this relationship is just too dangerous? I have to go. If I don't go now, then I will never go. I'll probably end up dead. At what point did you realize, like, okay, it's just too dangerous for me. I have to go?
It was when I had the gun pointed to my head. Mm-hmm. And the gun jammed.
So he actually pulled the trigger, but it was jammed.
Yeah. And then he was like, then he panicked and he was like, what the fuck? And he freaking pistol whipped me and took off. And he was on drugs too. So it was him beating me up for money for drugs. And he wasn't working and I was the one that was working.
When you left that relationship, did you leave unannounced?
I did, because I feared for my life.
How long did it take you from that day, had a gun in your head, and he left? How long did it take you from that point for you to finally leave that relationship?
Because I feared for my life, I had to strategize. And I left everything. I had to make sure I had some money. I bought a plane ticket. I had somebody else buy a plane ticket for me. I made sure it wasn't under my name because he had access to my ATM account and all that stuff, my bank statement. And then one day when he went to a family gathering, I just left.
So that was your escape plan. Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to plan all of that?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, because I was like, I can't. Like even my mom. And at that time, I ran to my mom, and she seen my face. She seen my face, and she goes, because I didn't have nobody. And even though she kicked me out, I still needed my mom. You know, she was the closest. And she's like, you need to leave. He's going to kill you. And nobody's going to take care of your daughter. And your daughter, you do not want to raise your daughter in Stockton.
Did anybody tell anybody? Did anybody knew that you plan an escape?
No. Did
you tell your mom? I know that she said for you to go, but did you tell your mom your escape plan?
I did. That was the only person I told.
Why did you trust your mom, especially with all the stuff that happened between you and her?
Because at that time, I needed someone to run to, and I didn't have nobody, no one to save me. I turned to his family. His family watched them beat me too. And so I didn't have nobody. And my friends was telling me, you're dumb for staying in a relationship. So I didn't want to hear that because I already knew what situation that I was in. And by them belittling me and making me feel little, I didn't want to go to anybody because it was embarrassing, because it made me look weak, And so I told my mom, I was like, I'm going to leave. And I left.
And after you left, did you feel or felt a sense of relief?
Yeah, but then when I left, to be honest with you, I didn't give myself enough time to heal because when I came to South Carolina, that's when I got with my baby daddy, which is my son, Carter's, and his dad passed away. Rest in peace. But I left an abusive relationship to come and be in another one. But it didn't start right away.
And what was the hardest part of starting over?
Not knowing what was ahead, like what was my plan, but I was determined when at the moment I set foot in South Carolina, I told myself that I would apply for any job. I applied for McDonald's. I applied for everything. At one point, I was working 2 jobs, and I trusted the guy that I was with, that I, started dating in South Carolina, to watch my daughter. And his family actually loves my daughter as if she was their own. So I had that support. And till this very day, even with his passing, I still have a good relationship with him.
After your escape, you fled to South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Then you quickly got into a relationship. How did you meet this person?
It was 1 year I came out to South Carolina to visit because my sister lived out in South Carolina, and then we just stayed in touch. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of knew what my situation was, the abuse that I went through. And he was like, if you ever need to escape, just come over here. And we wasn't even supposed to be together. We wasn't. He was the one person that said, come over here and start a new life, and I could talk to my parents. You could just stay with me. And then I end up, because of the fact that I've never had anybody that would do that for me, we end up, liking each other and having a relationship with each other.
During that time when you, you guys were in a relationship, mm-hmm. Did you ever felt like you were a reflection of your mother?
Yeah.
Did you feel like, okay, I need to forgive my mom at this point?
At one point I did, but then again, at the end of the day, I would have never left my kids. I would have continued to fight for my kids. I would never choose my kid over a man. Oh, I would never choose a man over my kids. And if my kids came home and said they needed me, whether I'm still married or whether I was, whatever situation I am in, I would still have figure out a way to take my kids in to help them.
And I know that we talked on the phone. You said that you started over with nothing but faith. What did faith look like for you during that time?
I was faith to me at that time was I was determined to do whatever it takes to build what I needed to do. You get what I'm saying? Like, I believe that, I built what I built because when I was in Stockton, we had an apartment, we had our own place, and that was basically based on me working. My baby daddy wasn't working. So I was like, okay, if I'm able to let all this materialistic stuff go, I believe I could do whatever it takes to start over, to do what I have to do to give a fresh start for Arena, for my daughter, because I didn't want her to go through what I went through.
Was that some of the lowest moments that you've had when you rebuilt that life with the new relationship?
Yeah, it was, because starting to have to stay with somebody, that I barely knew, that we just met, when I came to visit South Carolina 1 year, and we just stayed in touch, and then just him offering me an opportunity to leave because he knew the situation that I was in. I left. I took it because I was literally gonna die. He would kill me if I didn't leave.
Did he ever try to come find or try to look for you?
He did. He went over to my mom's house one day. My mom was like, I don't know. Because he knew that I didn't really have a good relationship with my mom to begin with. Mm-hmm. But he went over there and my mom was like, I don't know. And then she told me he went over there looking for me. But then words got around and he knew where I went afterwards.
He never went to South Carolina?
No.
What about today? Have you had any, encountered with him?
No.
Nothing whatsoever?
Some family members do. And some people tell me about him, how he is. And I was like, I really don't care.
Yeah. Let's talk about your postpartum depression. I know that we talked about that briefly. What was that like for you?
So going through postpartum, it hit me out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. I may have encountered postpartum multiple times before, after all of my other kids, but postpartum hit me the worst when I had Harmony. I guess being pregnant and having a child at, my early 40s caused me to be in a very dark place, and having Harmony as a preemie didn't help. Mm-hmm. So it put me in a very dark place. It was to one point where I text my husband, I text all my kids, and I told them that I love them and that they would be okay without me, because that's how heavy it was, and I was going to drive off a cliff. That's when I knew, because no matter what I went through in life, the only time that I wanted to end my life was when I was highly on drugs at my teenage years. But throughout all of that, I never wanted to end my life because I had a kid. I was scared to leave them behind. I was scared to leave my daughter behind. So when I knew that it was not something that's not normal, I told my husband, I said, honey, I'm not myself. I think I need help. And I started going to see a therapist. They put me on medication, but that medication made me numb. It took me back to my old ways, like thinking dark things. And I was like, hell no, I'm not doing this no more. So I cold turkey and stopped taking the medication and started trying to heal myself, do better for myself, started doing self-care. And then the one thing that I truly love about my husband is he asked me one day, he was like, what do I need to do to help you? What can I do to help you? And yeah. And to be with someone that is like him, I've never had that in my life, because it was always me trying to help everybody else.
There are days that you cried in the shower because you don't want anybody to hear you.
Yeah. I didn't want him to feel the heaviness that I was struggling with. And because he was already holding the weight of our family, because I didn't go back to work. I was home with the baby. And then there was time where he worked 16 hours. And I know at that time it wasn't fair either, because he would work 16 hours. And when he came home, I would tell him, you need to help me with the baby. I've been with the baby all day long. You being at work is an escape from us.
What kept you going when you felt like quitting?
My kids. And at that time when I was going to drive off a cliff, there was an officer that said to me, I'm going to let you go. And it was just how everything worked. He said to me, my wife went through the same thing, but hers was bad, where she wanted to harm herself and her kid, the baby. And she got help. And, you need to use your story to inspire others. Because people that goes through postpartum depression, sometimes you're told not to talk about it. But for anybody that's going through it right now, find somebody to talk about it, because it's deep. You don't have to go through it alone.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I know that maybe someone's out there that's going through postpartum depression. They can learn from this. I know that postpartum depression is very hard. It's very difficult. And if you are experiencing that, please go and find help right away.
Yeah. And it's okay to ask for help. And if you want to do it anonymously, there's support out there. You don't have to feel like you have to carry that weight alone, because you don't have to.
Ratha, I want to talk about more of your healing, your self-worth. At what point did you realize and you start believing in yourself that you deserve better?
It was at a point where I had no choice but to. It was a point in our life where my husband had got laid off, and I had to step up to the plate. And then that's when I was like, I could only do this if I'm mentally stable. So then I started to learn. I promised myself to learn to love myself and do what I needed to do to heal. So I started eating more clean, started listening to podcasts, started like self-healing myself so I could be a better version of myself so that I could just provide for my family.
At that time, this is when you were in your current relationship, right? Did you feel like your husband was the one that kind of uplifted your spirit for you to know your self-worth?
He did, because everything that I wanted to do for myself, he would always encourage me. Like, I could one day be like, babe, I want to dye my hair blonde. He goes, hey, if that makes you happy, go. There are times where I was like, babe, I want to go get a mommy makeover. He said, if that makes you happy, do it. You know, he's never stopped me from doing what I believe I could do.
What does healing look like in real life? We're not talking about the social media where you post things, happy moments. It looked like happy moments, you know, like some pictures that you see when people post, it just looks everybody looks so happy. Mm-hmm. But in actuality, in reality, you're not happy.
Healing for me was being able to have time with my kids, my family, is being able to have conversations with them and sharing memories and making memories with them, you know. And me and my husband, we have always been like close knit with our kids. Our life pretty much revolves around our kids, you know. So my healing was just being with them, conversating with them, and, you know, sharing what I went through with them, you know. And I wouldn't be where I'm at now if it wasn't for them. They supported me through. There was time, it took a whole village when I was going through what I was going through. My husband lost sleep, my kids stepped up to the plate. You know, we made it work in our household. We didn't have no support outside of our household at all.
Do you look back and tell yourself that you're ashamed or you're embarrassed of the actions that you did in the past?
No, I'm not. It was all lessons that I had to learn and I grew from. Like, I don't regret anything.
And what about your two daughters? Have you shared any stories with them?
My older one, yes. Mm-hmm. She knows exactly what I've been through. And I've even told her you should be glad I left California for you to come here. And that's why I push her so hard. She's in college right now. And I've never gotten an opportunity to go to college. You know, I dropped out and then went back and got my GED online. Well, my high school diploma online. And with her and just with every one of my kids, I feel like education is power. Knowledge is power. So learn whatever you can. You know, don't be so closed-minded and be like, oh, I already know that. I'm good. I don't need to learn more. No. Learn ways to adapt to it. Learn ways to grow and to perfect it.
What kind of parent are you?
I'm very strict. Well, not very strict, but I guess you could say I'm a structured parent.
And you're different. You want to be different from the way that you were raised.
Yes.
By your mom.
Yes. So we have structures in our household. We have expectations for our kids. Like, even at a young age, they have chores that they have to do, taking out the trash. Every single one of our kids, we all gave responsibility to. You know, and at one point, till now, they still question, why do I have to do that? Such and such family don't have to do it.
Kids, they're funny.
And we're like, well, you're not such and such household. And so and one day you're going to learn. And we have one of our older kids that don't live at home anymore. And he came home one time and he was like, Mom, Dad, everything that you taught us, now I understand it. Because we're like basic cleaning, basic organizing, taking out trash. You know, nobody wants to live with a slob. You know, like my daughter that shares a dorm with 2 other girls. Like, she had to learn it. Like, I used to always, her room used to be the messiest. Somewhat still is when she comes home. And I would tell her, like, girl, you need to get your shit together.
Are you proud?
Yeah. For the most part, I am.
Do you think that the cycle is going to repeat in your kids?
I hope not. Because that's one of the reasons why we push as hard as we do. And why I push so hard to break generational cycle.
Like, I was the first in my family to buy a home. My parents was like, why you want to buy why do you want to buy a home for? You're going to be stuck with a mortgage for 30 years. You'll be dead by then. But to me, it's having a stable foundation for my kids. It's stability because I've never had that in my life.
Today, you're a wife, a mother, a community leader. How does that look like at your life now compared to where you started?
It's huge. You know, there's people in my past that look at me like, you know, we still know where she came from, you know, and there are times where people still try to pull my what I've been through in my past, my addiction, you know, she used to be an addict. Where's she at? And then to me, it makes me smile. I don't really get offended about it anymore because I've been through shit already. You know, I've been through it all. You know, nothing hurts me anymore. What matters to me is how my husband, how the people in my household view me. Outside the household, I really don't care because I'm not out here to please anybody.
And how did you get into the community work?
How I got into community work was when we had, you know, conflict between our two countries, Cambodia and Thailand. I was passionate about because my cousin was front soldier that had to be, you know, front line. And so I just wanted to raise awareness in our like in the state of South Carolina with what was going on in our country. Like, it was heavy on my heart. So a couple of people, a couple of our leaders, we came together and we created, you know, the Cambodian Association of South Carolina. And we started a movement, and it made enough noise to raise awareness to people that matters, to actually got attention for us to have a ceasefire. So that's when, to me, was like the eye-opening for me. Like, you know, I want to fight to leave that legacy behind for my kids. You know, I want them to be proud that they have a country to go back to. Other than, yes, we're, you know, Americans and we're born here, but our roots is not here. Our roots is back home in Cambodia.
You're now an international published makeup artist. Can we talk about how you started that career?
So I've started my career since 1999 when I started doing makeup for, hot import nights, Nobi, lowriders and stuff. And then it's always been in me, you know, the artistry side. My first job in the cosmetic field was at MAC in Stockton, California. But then I was like, So because I've always liked nice things. So then I started working for Lancome afterwards. And then I moved up to working for Estee Lauder. But what really pushed me, what actually gave me the international published makeup artist was when I was going through postpartum and I was trying to find myself. So my husband was like, babe, sign up for fashion shows, you know, do what makes you happy. And I got it at home. You know, I got the kids. You know, and it was a part of my healing. So I met a bunch of creative people, like photographers, models, and it first started off in the garage. And then my work just started being, you know, word of mouth, travels fast. So one of my friends was like, hey, I'm going to sign you up for Spartanburg Fashion Week. And that's how it started. One day I went to go and start doing work at a fashion show. There was over 70-something models, and we had a few makeup artists that flaked out. And one fashion show, it was me doing 24 models makeup within 4 hours. So one of the designers, her name is Elle Boyce. She's from Atlanta. She's a celebrity designer. She, you know, for clothing, and she just fell in love with my work. And what made her fall in love with my work was she watched me work. And then afterwards, I was like, hey, you're a designer. How come you're not all dolled up? You know, since I'm done with these models, let me freshen you up real quick. Because that's just how I am. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and that's when she said she fell in love with me, was that, like, I looked out for her when I didn't have to. My job was only to make sure the models look good. And so then she gave me an opportunity to go out to Savannah, Georgia, and I was able to do makeup for a Broadway celebrity that is in New York. Her name is Tiffany Mam, and she designed a dress, and we did a whole photo shoot with her. And that photo shoot and that work that I did was published in an international magazine. So that's how I got the title of. And then even with getting that title, I was like, wait, so does this mean that I'm officially an international published makeup artist? She goes, yeah, girl. And I was like, how?
To me, it sounds, you know, the titles just sound so prestige. When you told me that, I'm like, whoa.
And then I was like, when she said that to me, I was like, how? You know, she goes, because your work was published in an international magazine. And then when I seen it online, like, she gave me the link and we were able to order the magazine as well. And I was like, how is that even real? You know, and it was in the UK. The magazine is in UK. So, yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
And that was my first. And then I have 3 others that got published locally in the United States.
When you did makeup, you know, during that, is it 1999 you said? Mm-hmm. How did makeup evolve to how it is now?
It's totally different. It's totally different because now everything's so artsy, you know, but my signature, and everybody knows my work, I love doing soft glam, you know, like just enhancing your beauty. Mm-hmm. And I love working, and I love challenges. So when there are times where, you know, I work with different colored skin, and then they'll be like, I don't think you can match my color. And I was like, let me try. And then it would just be to the T.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my gosh,
you make me look so good. Let's talk about, you know, you're also a businesswoman and an entrepreneur. Can we talk more on that?
Yeah. So my family, I don't know if you follow me or not, but, you know, we have generations of singers. Mm-hmm. My daughter's a singer. My husband's a singer. I guess you could say I'm a singer too, but I don't like to push it out there. Yeah.
She's a great singer, by the way.
So me and my husband started our own business called RNS Dynasty. To us, it's like cinematic. Like, so at one point we you know, did shows like Cambodian concerts to preserve. And my passion of why I wanted to do that was because I wanted to bring my kids, my family. So it was like a family business. Like, I would coordinate the event. I would book all the celebrities to come to our event. And I would showcase my daughter because she's an incredible singer. My husband and I would host it. Of course, you know, we'll open singing a few songs. And then my older boys will help us coordinate the event. They would help us set up tables, break down tables. So that was something that was driven for me and my husband so that we could have our own family thing. But it's still there. We're still trying to push it. But, you know, when you have kids that are older, they want to migrate and they want to walk their own path. So it's still there. We're still passionate about it. But now, you know, I'm trying to get my husband booked to go out and sing at gigs.
If anybody is interested in your service, do you guys have like a website or a Facebook? Or I can link this at the end of the show, at the end of the podcast. I'll put your handles and everything.
You could just personally message me on my personal page, which is Ratha Sat on Facebook, and then Lovely Ratha Lux on Instagram. And then we have a family page that both my husband and I manage. It's called Keeping Up with the Sats.
Nice, nice. I want to ask you, I don't want to offend you or anything like that, but you've lost over 40 pounds through self-care.
Yeah.
How did that transformation represent not just your weight?
Well, I've always struggled with my weight ever since I was young. But I was my heaviest after I had Harmony because of my postpartum depression. Like, I didn't care about myself. I pretty much let myself go. I was at my heaviest at 220 something pounds.
Do you think that it was like really heavy set?
Yeah. Yeah. Because when I looked at myself, I was always tired. Mm-hmm. And it was me in a phase where I just completely lost myself. Then when I started getting into the beauty world, started doing fashion shows, that's when I told myself and I told my husband that I'm going to learn to love myself more. Yeah.
How do you feel now? I mean, you look amazing.
Thank you. I feel great, but I'm not at my best. I'm still working on me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you look amazing.
Thank you.
What are some ways you've healed parts of yourself that you once thought were impossible?
The part of forgiving my mom and my parents of what I've been through. I felt like if I didn't go through what I went through, I probably wouldn't be who I am now. I probably wouldn't push as hard as I am now, and I probably won't, be who I am now. Because the struggles, like some people, and I'm not some people, but some people will use their struggle and become a victim. They play victim. But with me, I feel like you can't play victim. There's ways, there's help. It's pretty much your mindset, what you want to be. So if you tell yourself that, shit, I'm going to be Superwoman today, you could be Superwoman. Mm-hmm. Anything's possible. So that's what I teach my kids. I tell my kids, like, whatever you believe that you could do, that your heart desires, chase after it. Like, I get feedbacks about my daughter being in college. She's majoring in music and fine arts. They're like, why are you wasting money for your daughter to pursue music career? What are the odds? And I was like, you know what? Just to install that I believe in her dreams and letting her know, because I didn't have that support, to me, that's enough. And that should be enough for her to want to choose her own path.
Now, the other day I was on the social media, and, I follow you, of course, and I saw on your, I don't know if it was your story or somewhere, it might have been Facebook, I'm not sure, but I saw a post, you were on a movie set. Can we talk about that?
Oh my God. So that falls back into my fashion show world. When I met all these incredible people because I did fashion shows, and I got booked to do one of my friends. Her name is Tanya Love, who is actually the director of that film. And she's like, hey, you ever thought of acting before? And I was like, girl, no. She goes, you do incredible makeup. You get what I'm saying? And I could use an extra. And I was like, depends. So it was more of, not being an extra, I did have to say a couple words, but yeah, she was like, you'll be incredible with it. So that was one of my filming.
Were you nervous?
Yeah.
What part did you play?
I played my film name. My name was Carla. So I was I was just a girl that this guy was talking to me as a rebound. Mm-hmm. That his homie was trying to hook me up with.
So it was just, it was just a fun scene.
Yeah.
It was good experience, right?
Yeah, it was.
Now, in the future, if you ever had another opportunity to be in a film, would you consider?
Probably, but I like to work behind the scenes.
Do you think it's easier to be behind the scene?
It is, because I don't like I love being in front of camera. Like, I love taking selfies and stuff of myself. But filming, I'm still trying to get used to it. It's cringy to me still.
Yeah, because there's so many people looking and staring at you. You have to remember the lines and things like that, right? You're the lady VP of the Cambodia Association of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Why is it so important to you to give back?
The reason why it's important to me to give back is because no one does things for our community anymore. You know, like everybody gatekeeps everything. And to me, it's important to give back so that our kids, to leave stuff behind for our kids and other generations to look up to. Like, you know, our parents push hard to preserve the culture and the heritage, you know, and just to have a community, to build a community for some, you know, the next generation to have some place to go to or to lean on.
How did you get your position as the VP?
After, remember I shared with you when we put the rally and stuff together, we created an association because I was able to like draft letters, documents, and putting, you know, help put the event. And I like to talk to people. So that responsibility fell on me.
And the community where you reside, they're okay with that, considering, you know, you've had a rough childhood. There's no like stereotype or anything like that.
I had stereotype when I first announced my position. I got some backlash because you know how I don't fully speak Cambodian, but I understand it. They think that I wasn't validated enough to have that position.
Why is that? Why are all Khmer people like that? I've always wondered, like, you have to be fluent in Khmer.
I guess because like they have a standard and it's stereotype, but they don't realize that the younger generation are a lot more powerful. They just don't know.
Right. The kids are our future.
Yeah.
Yeah. How has your past shaped the way you show up for a community today?
I feel like, you know, I wish that we have the same support and the same exposure that we did back then. So just sharing my knowledge and bringing it to the community and, you know, educating them and helping them know that, you know, there's people that are willing to help.
And what do you want people to understand about Cambodian women, especially like you with your background, to know, and especially the resilience part of it?
Yeah, to never give up, and that no matter what you go through, it doesn't define you, you know, and to break generational cycles. You know, don't be that statistic where people say, oh, just because she's Cambodian, she's such and such. You know, how they look at Cambodian women to be weak because we have to always be submissive to our men. Like, no, we don't have to be that stay-at-home wife. You know, we don't have to be, like, yeah, there's some points where you could be submissive, but, you know, I feel like women this generation, we could conquer a lot more than what they stereotype to be.
Now, I want to go into this next conversation that we're about to have. This is a very uneasy conversation. I know that we've talked about it briefly regarding Khmer people, by the way, and I don't want to offend anybody out there. I love Cambodian people. Sometimes I feel like we love and we hate each other at the same time. When we see somebody successful, instead of being happy for them, we up them, you know, that's upគ្នាអញ្ចឹងយើងចង់បានដូចថាសាមគ្គីគ្នាប៉ុន្តែ we don't do it. So this topic is really uncomfortable, but I feel like we have to talk about it. You know, កូនក្មេងជំនាន់ក្រោយ, right? We are the younger generation. We're open-minded. Why do you think we love and hate each other at the same time?
Well, I feel like, to be honest with you, from my opinion and what I've learned, I feel like a lot it falls back to how everything used to be back home. Like how our parents was when they had to go through the Pol Pot regime, where they pretty much wiped all of the education people and had everybody be the same, you know, and no one was able to be better than anybody. So I feel like, to be honest with you, that plays a big part, right? But then again, I don't understand it because I'm a kid that grew here, that was born here.
Right.
Where I'm about uplifting everybody and I'm about sharing with what I know so that we could all grow, so that our community could be a lot stronger when we help each other instead of being divided. So I feel like a lot of that falls on that, in our country. To be honest with you, our country been kam, because of all the history of the genocides and what our country has to go through and rebuilding and healing from it. I honestly don't think our country has fully healed from it, even our people.
Yeah, we still haven't healed from it.
No, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're so divided.
It's crazy because in the DFW Metroplex here, I try my best to be involved in a lot of Khmer community events where we plan events and we send the invites like on Facebook or the group page and things like that. Now I know that there's like thousands and thousands of Khmer people here, but when the event is happening, there's only like a handful. I'm talking about like 30 or 40 people show up to these events. Khmer events, for example, like we'll have like gatherings like picnics or trying to support each other. Like we'll announce, oh, you know what? There's a donut shop that's open. There's a grand opening, like a soft opening. You guys go and support. Or there's like a boba tea that's opening, or just any Khmer establishments. There's only like a handful of people that would show up to support. But at the same time, we say that we love Khmer people, but we don't show that support. So sometimes I'm a little irritated because I want change. I want us to be stronger, unite as a community and be there for each other and support one another. Why do you think that there is so much jealousy, so much gossip, so much division in the Khmer community? What is your take on that?
To be honest with you, I feel like growing up, that was always a thing, and I've never understood why. It's like, if I feel like I've seen people that, don't want to see others succeed. Sorry. Don't want to see others succeed. And I feel like, once again, it falls back on to what they've been through, so they don't know how to come together and support each other. And they always feel like that it's always a competition when it's not.
How can we change that? What can we do to change that?
To be honest with you, I think it's not just here in Dallas, it's over in South Carolina too. I think the main problem is Cambodian people have trust issues. Because anytime an organization or anytime there's a fundraising event, they question. Cambodian people have issues. So we're a bit naive, but we trust people easily. When like someone would come and say, hey, I'm doing this for your country, or I'm doing this, right? They're so easy to be like, okay, what do you need?
And you know why, right? Because Khmer people, we are one of the sweetest, the kindest. We're just so happy. Like when I go to Stockton, everybody in Kite, everybody in the provinces, I went through so many different provinces in Stockton, and everybody is just so kind and just so sweet and just so giving. They have such a big heart. And so when you're coming from another country like United States, like we're Americans, we go to Cambodia and they see us, they're giving, like they look up to you, they look up to us because we're from America. That's where the naiveness comes from.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that makes me curious, because of the fact that we're so easy to lift up other people, but why can't we lift up our own? Like, it's so easy for us to lift upដោយថាលើកស្ទួយអ្នកដទៃដោយថាអ្នកក្រៅប៉ុន្តែខ្មែរខ្លួនឯងយើងអត់មានលើកគ្នា or support គ្នាឲ្យសាមគ្គីគ្នាសោះ
Can we get a translation for that? Somebody chime in. What she was saying is, Khmer people, we rather support uplift others and not ourselves, our people. How can we change that? That's what I'm trying to get down to.
You and I both are.
I'm trying to figure this out because I want us to samakikini. I want us to unite. I want us to help each other because I want to grow. We're talking about like the Vietnamese community, the Chinese community. They roll deep as much as they talk shit about each other. But when it's time to do business, like help each other, support each other, they come together strong. After they donate, they do the fundraising or whatever, they go to the event to support whomever or the organization or that event. They still talk shit about you at that event, but they're still supporting the program.
They are.
Why can't we do that? Why can't Khmer people do that?
I've learned that now it really has to start with us, because you know why? We have to make that change. We have to step forward to make that change, because even if we ask the older generation why, they can't give us a different answer, and we shouldn't waste our time. I feel like we shouldn't waste our time to keep asking that same question, because we're not going to get what we want. We're not going to get the answer that we want to hear. So I feel like as of this point, it starts with me. It starts with you. We have to make that change. We have to inspire people in our generation, the younger generation, to do better, to make that change. Because the older ones are not. They're not going to do it, because even just by us asking that question to them, they can't give us a definite answer to why our community is so divided. We can't continue to keep pushing that, because now it's only going to push us back, right? So moving forward, it takes me, it takes you, it takes other community leaders that are passionate the same way, that wants unity, that wants to build a community for all of us to come together, and we have to do better. So we can't say that we want to do better, right? We want change, but then we're going to still take on the older generation's trait. You get what I'm saying? So it has to start with us, because if it doesn't start with us, there's not going to be anything left for our kids.
I agree with you. I agree that it has to start within. Do you think that the younger generations, like your kids, do you think that they agree to do that? Do you think that they are going to unite Cambodian kids, the younger generation, that they will unite and push the movement?
I feel so. Because when we had the rally, when we started the movement in Spartanburg, we had a lot of young kids wearing Cambodian flags. Like even my son, the 12-year-old, and a bunch of his friends, they came to support because they were proud that they're Cambodians and they're standing for their country, even though they're kids that's part of this generation. So I feel like we have hope, because the younger generation wants to, just like us growing up, we wanted to feel being a part of something, and if we are able to come together and build that and make that legacy for them, they have some hope, and we have hope for our community as well.
I want to move forward to the message that you want to give to the world, especially for women who feel trapped in trauma in a relationship, like abusive relationship, the addiction. What kind of advice would you give to those women?
I know at the moment you feel like there's no pathway, that you're stuck. But if you could push yourself to oversee that, there are so many outlets. And you're worth more than that, There's people like me that you could reach out to. There's hope. Don't give up, And I feel like everyone has their seasons. There's rainy day seasons, there's snow seasons, there's sunny days. So you have to overcome it. I know sometimes when you're stuck in that situation, it's hard, but sometimes it takes only one person to say, hey, you'll be all right. You'll get through it. And don't be afraid. Don't carry that weight by yourself, because you're worth more than that.
And what about the addiction part? If someone is trapped in the substance abuse, how do they get out of that? How do they find ways to escape that?
To get help and to admit the first step to actually overcome it is to admit that you have an addiction and to get help.
And what about being in an abusive relationship? I know that sometimes women, they stay for stability. They have nowhere else to go and they are trapped, or they feel like they're trapped. What message do you want to send to those women out there?
The same thing. You're worth more than that. You are valued, and what I always say is there's always other fishes in the sea. Like, you don't have to be stuck with this person that doesn't value you.
And Ratha, if you can go back during your younger years, what would you tell yourself?
I would have told myself that, to just keep that you're doing pretty well and you're a lot stronger than you know. And you could overcome you could overcome everything because you did. I'm where I'm at now. If if I would have given up, I wouldn't be who I am now. So telling the younger me is, girl, you did it. You're a lot stronger than you thought you were.
What are you most proud of right now?
What I'm most proud of are my family and my kids, my husband. My career. Yeah, I'm proud of where I'm at, but without their support, I wouldn't be who I am. Without my husband being home to hold down the fort when I have to travel for work, my mind wouldn't be focused on work. My mind wouldn't be able to do what I have to do to get where I'm at. So I'm proud of my family.
Thank you so much for sharing us your family story. You have such a beautiful family.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you guys prosper more. I want to ask you, what is your favorite Khmer food?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Khmer food or not, but...
What is it?
Oh, it is. I love myself some mee gala.
Mee gala? What is mee gala?
So mee gala is like steamed catil with like pampilla, the crepe aim, and all this other stuff on the side. Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
With pakia cream and stuff. Yeah. And then my other favorite is, tagpahok and salamachukru.
That's like every Khmer person.
Well, no. I take that back. I would choose salakoko and salabaha over salamachukru.
Wow. You're like an old traditional woman. I feel like that's like an old soul dish.
So back in the days when we used to go to the temple, that would be the first thing that I would look for, salakoko and salabaha.
I love salabaha. Especially like country soup. I love soup. I can eat soup all day.
Me too.
So are you going to be singing at any Khmer New Year's this year?
No.
Why not?
This year.
Why not? Taking a break?
Yeah.
Why? You're such a good singer.
Because I have other things that I'm shifting my priority to. There's a lot of projects that I'm going to be working with. I just recently got involved with the Navy League in Palm Springs. I'm a part of an organization called CAPO, which is a Cambodian advocacy and policy organization. So I have a lot of projects that I want to build, and stay tuned.
Well, I'm so excited to see those upcoming projects that you have. I want to say thank you so much for being here, taking the time to share us your personal stories.
Thank you for having me.
It's just so crazy how life is. And I'm sorry that you've gone through all of that when you were younger. And just seeing where you are now as an incredible woman, one of the most powerful Khmer women that's here, sharing your stories and teaching us ways where we can overcome anything. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing the stories with us. You are a living proof for society, for Khmer girls. And so thank you, sis.
Thank you for having me.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. It'll help push the algorithm for more contents like this. Please leave a comment and share this episode with anybody who needs it. Until next time, guys, I'll see you on the next episode.